My next conversation is with someone who has a real bird's eye view of the musical theater profession. His name is Phil Hall. He's a musical director, he's a voice coach, he writes musical theater, and he's an all around incredible pianist and incredible creative guide and help. I go to him myself as a voice coach. So let's check in with him and see what the perils and the pleasures are of being a singer's whisperer and how he's doing at this time. First of all, I miss your room. It seems cruel of you to be there and for me to be here. It's hard. It's hard to not be normal. I want to be normal.
But the beautiful thing, though, is that I've seen a performance of yours from your very own living room that was really quite outstanding. So you're still keeping the music playing.
Yeah, we're all keeping the music playing. I hope this doesn't sound like how do we get other jobs, or how do we go into, Richard Troxell is like, you can only mow your lawn so many times.
That's
the studio. Yeah, well, that's Jerry Herman.
And here's where the
bathroom, which I always like. Ooh.
And this is also where they stand and sing.
Wow, you're going right to the crux of the matter. Say that again?
Yeah. I said, this is where they stand and sing now.
Yeah. All right. So take us on a tour. So we have a dividing wall.
Yeah. It's a dividing wall that allows them to sing. And some people, I only have one family, parents who have a high school son, and they have asked him to wear his mask and me to wear my mask during his sessions. But a lot of people, now that they have this stand, they will take their mask off, and usually I spend the whole day never using my mask, just because I'm so far away from them. I'm about 12 feet away, and that gives us a lot of separation. And I clean the plexiglass stand, and I clean the 2 stools that they can put their drinks and stuff on, and I clean the music stand with alcohol between every single session. So that allows us to have, and I ventilate, I have the window open here.
Yeah, you have windows all over the place.
Ventilate, and
I mean, you have 6 windows in this space. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And that was a very helpful article, because when I read the article that you forwarded to me, I went online, I asked the guy I rent the studio from.
Yeah, I sent you an article on ventilation. Yeah.
Yeah. And the HEPA, he gave me the square footage of the room so I can buy a HEPA filter, which is pretty much than I can do to have people be able to sing again. But, I think after a while, you I think your soul has to go back to what it is you do a little bit, to some degree. It can be shut down. Sometimes life, intercedes, and a person will have they'll have to have a hip replacement or some sort of surgery that makes them have to be on the shelf of their music making for maybe 3 months, 6 months. And that's sort of what we've done here with COVID. But I just feel like, I don't know, my soul misses music, and it's hard for me to be without it for too long.
All right. So you've opened your studio up again. So I'm going to back up a little bit before I get into how you've managed this crisis in music or theater people and all the things that we're going through. I'll just, for the record, say you are one of my coaches. You are my voice coach. And I come to you. I haven't had a hip replacement yet, but I've come to you with my version of a hip replacement many times. When I have a big audition, or I'm rebooting my career after different things with my kids and different chapters in my life. And also just when I have something important, I come to you, what a voice coach does for me. And that is, it's a place more than for just technical. It's to get, like you were saying, the whole spirit moving and to get us connecting. Yes. So would you call yourself a voice coach, voice teacher, arranger, producer, all these things, right?
Yeah, I majored in singing. I got my degrees at UNC at Chapel Hill in singing, and at Indiana University, I got my master's in it. But because I played the piano for so much of my life, and a lot of teachers who did not play the piano would send their students to me to play their music. So I'm a combination of a coach and a teacher. For some people, when teachers have sent them, I try not to get into their technical aspects of their singing because that's not what they're seeing me for. The teacher has referred them to me, and I respect that boundary. I mean, if there's something they're struggling with that I can help in a second, I'll mention that, but I don't try to get into overall singing technique things because that's not what they're there for.
Like
But
that
for some
Evita
people,
thing, like the Evita thing you used to do with me. You used to change the word. So
yeah, he supports you for loves you. We would sing, hey. We would go, hey, support you.
hey, he supports you, he love you. I didn't know better. But we hey, with your sign. I mean, I don't know that. But was it
That's
what would you do? You would go, hey. You froze. You froze with a big smile.
yes.
So you go, hey.
Yeah, the thing is, the two things I think that I do really well from years of doing them. One is because I am a tenor. I feel
This
like
is an aside, by the way. Yeah.
I can help baritones and tenors get into their top voice. You know, I had a friend of mine who I worked with many times who got the Scarlet Pimpernel national tour, and he was going to cover both roles, Doug Sill's role and Terrence Mann's role. And so one's really baritone and one's really high tenor, and he had not had much experience singing the tenor notes. So he came in and worked. And Richard J. Alexander sent me a couple of singers that he was certain could do Jean Valjean. He heard it in their voice, but he felt like they needed to learn how to get into their high notes easier. So he sent me some guys to work with, and that's definitely one of my suits. And the second thing is helping women with their mixed belt voice, because I think that I don't like to hear women drag too much chest up because that has a potential of creating a break in their voice. So that's what I really enjoy doing. You know, we've done some of that together because
We've done a lot.
You had sung a lot of legit roles, but then you started getting, you know, more Sondheim-y, speak singing roles in the middle, roles that required mixed belting. And plus you were doing so many concerts. Those helped you sing in the middle. And, you know, you've learned to sing with such great finesse, you know, and in an accomplished way in a whole evening, a whole cabaret show, which is all
Like
you
ordinary.
singing for 60, 70 minutes.
Yeah, like Ordinary Miracles, all that kind of stuff where it's still romantic singing, but it's requiring that belt. You've helped me a ton with that. I could still learn to drive it harder, but all right, I want to back up for you as you know, I have a couple of questions for you. What are the most confounding songs for you or style of music to teach? Is there a style of music that's a little trickier to teach? And also wanted to ask you if how much of what you do is musical with coaching and phrasing and how much of it is psychological?
No, there's two different things. I'd say the hardest thing for me to feel facile with is rapping. The stuff that Hamilton has brought into the arena. But I honestly worship the ground that Lin-Manuel Miranda walks on. He can do no bad in my eyes. And so I have to learn to embrace that. And I learned by listening and trying to inculcate the style. But I have to say, singularly, that's the most difficult thing for me because it does not come in a cellular way to me. It's not in my cells, my DNA. But I really appreciate that in one musical, he incorporated that. He brought it in successfully. And musical theater now can do that. But you have to sort of be as good as Lin-Manuel Miranda putting it together to make it really fly on a Broadway stage. I think in singing, honestly, a lot of it is psychological. I didn't really realize that how much it was until I started doing it. But it's a lot psychological because I think people love to express themselves, whether it's in whatever medium they do. It's their speaking voice when they're acting, if it's their singing voice when they're singing, if it's their body because they're a dancer, a modern dancer, a ballet dancer. People have expressive, artistic souls, I think, often in them. And they just need the permission for them to come out, and that it's okay to trot them out. I think one thing people feel in this studio is they have what happens in here stays between us, and they have every opportunity to risk, to sing an ugly sound. I tell them, if you need to make an ugly sound to get to a pretty one, I don't care. I'll make ugly sounds so they won't be scared to do it. You know, in an attempt to let them not limit themselves in the hour they're here, because if we don't try new things, we'll never discover things about our voice. You know, it's just so true.
Was there a time you had to help someone to get ready for a concert or an audition with just hours to go, and you were about to say there was someone?
Yeah, I had a girl yesterday who wrote me, but she is somehow gotten involved in a thing where they want her to sing and play a song on a TV documentary, and she's nervous about her piano playing. So they just told her yesterday, and it's imminent. The way these things come up, you've had it happen to you too.
Oh yeah, it's 18 pages and it's for tomorrow. You know, and it's medical talk about, heart disease or something, or a legal speak or something, or, rattling off something about, outer space or something.
But the main thing you want to do is help the singer or help the person who has to go in and do the audition find a comfortability that they can go in and be themselves and be comfortable enough with the material, even still holding it, to act it and feel like they have maybe not processed it as much as they would like and inculcated it as much as they would like, but they feel ready to go in front of people who know them and know their work.
Do you remember all the Band's Visit auditions that you and I did? I mean, God, I learned Hebrew, and I transformed myself into this cafe woman with you for like weeks, and the show didn't go. But we had all those auditions and callbacks, and I worked so hard. I mean, I practically walk in your room and start singing, that music.
But I love that you did look a bit like her, because you have that great curly hair and dark sort of Mediterranean features that you can't tell what really nationality. You could be Italian or Greek, or, you just
I have some Middle Eastern and Greek in my body.
I'm not surprised at that.
Yeah, I was so determined to get that part, or to have a shot at it, that I had my parents give me the results of their genetics. And my mother's like, "You're a little Middle Eastern." Well, I was ready for to be able to share that wonderful information. I was talking to someone, and they were saying, if you speak to a chef and someone whose life is all about food, a lot of times a chef will have a fantasy, something that they always wished for in their life. And there was an example given that there was a chef who was thinking one day he'd like to invent hot ice cream. It's something that's improbable, and a dream. Is there a dream that you have, either for yourself, for your school? And what would that hot ice cream be for you?
There was a man in Venezuela named Jorge Abreu, and he is the one who started El Sistema, which I think is the most inspired thing that has really happened in music in my lifetime. Out of El Sistema, the conductor, Gustavo Dudamel, was a product of that. He's the conductor of the LA Philharmonic now. But Dudamel had this vision that if he begged people all over the world to send instruments to his country, and he started teaching the poor, underprivileged children of Venezuela to be top flight musicians. I wish that I had done that. That is a dream that I have. I just wish it had been my idea, but I'm so thankful and grateful that somebody had the vision to do that for his country. And it has made the Simon Bolivar Youth Orchestra You cannot believe how brilliant they are. They are brilliant. And top musicians today, I mean, the classical world, say that the most important musical work in the world is being done in Venezuela. How about that?
Wow. Wow. So that's someone's great accomplishment. And I mean, so, but I love your answer. I think of you though, and what's been cooking? I mean, you have written a musical during this pandemic, haven't you?
I did. I wrote a children's musical because I felt that even though the pandemic was going to cause me not to be able to do my regular work, I am so open to the creative side of me. I try to be in tune with that and be receptive to that when it comes. As I think I told you yesterday, after we missed each other, I started thinking about you, and a song came to mind that I'm going to write for you.
I'm
Because
so excited.
it's really cool because, and I don't even know how it comes, but when you open the door to your muse, to your creative muse, you're rarely disappointed. Something will come and fill that void. And so I wrote a musical about, I read that the Pope said that he thought that COVID was nature's response to what it's being subjected to. And I completely 1000% agree with him. And so that set me to the task. I was sitting at my desk at home and the name Zussel the Muscle flew through my head. And I knew it rhymed, and I thought, well, wonder what that's about. But I gave it no more thought than that. And then as I heard him, when I read that comment the Pope made, and then I thought of when you're writing a musical, a character has to have a hero journey. And what's smaller than a mussel lying on a lake or ocean floor and living its little life? What if he had a vision for how to make politicians in America stand up and take notice that they're not doing right by the ecological systems, by the things we do on land and the little consideration we have. Now, when we go to the beach and to the beautiful places, we all want to have a wonderful time for our family. But meanwhile, we do things that are not very smart. And so the whole idea of having Zussel have this idea that he's going to try to change the world of where he lives, which is in the water. And that was the genesis of the idea of that musical. And now today, I had a 3-hour recording session of recording the backup singers this morning. So,
oh, that's so great. This is like a Finding Nemo, but with some kind of ecological understanding and modern history and the sea, the world of the sea, and what it's telling us about us.
Exactly. And what I think is so sweet is that, in the same way, cats dressed humans as cats. I think that when the fish are realized on stage as people, it does humanize their story. It just can't help but humanize their story. And I opened the show with a lyric that says, "Do you believe that fish can fly or walk and talk and sing?" Because it's an invitation into their world. And it's like a prologue to the musical. And once you give into that, then you'll buy the rest of what happens in the musical, because it's not news to anyone. It's just important that it be heard during this time when I don't think climate is being honored, and we're not doing the best we can for that. We're all about business and business thriving. And yes, I'm all for that because it's good for the economy, but you have to strike a balance. You have to strike a balance and do what's
Ruth Bader
right.
Ginsburg had this wonderful quote about, it's not just about turning a buck, it's about leaving tracks in your society, leaving tracks in your community, leaving tracks in the choices that you make.
Right.
Wonderful quote. I will put information about your musical in the comments underneath, so that we can all follow its development. But it's Zussel the Muscle.
Zussel the Muscles.
Right. And it's a children's musical, which we can all option now and buy and do in schools and do on Zoom.
Exactly.
Right?
And I think it's going to be such fun for them because I don't know, I try to have him take a hero's journey. When you're one little person in the world and you think, what can I do that's going to really change the world and impact it in some way? And here's a muscle even smaller than a person. And yet he believes so strongly in doing better so that And then as I was doing the research, I didn't realize that mussels filter water. They filter the water every single day. Can you
They're
believe
working.
they're working in their little place that they inhabit in the ocean is an important, stepping stone to what gets accomplished towards keeping health there.
Oh,
So it's really
Phil,
cool.
I'm already, so I am sold. It's already, I see what you're saying. I see this is going to lead me to my last question for you, which is there's something so creative about you. Now I realize you're a teacher to help us to flow, but I've always noticed that you have a way of using wonderful words to describe someone. I don't know if you would say things like that somebody's voice is toasty, or I don't know, is scrumptious or chewy. Do you know that you do that? Do you know that you use interesting vocabulary? I know this is a strange question, but it's like you see the world, as a poet in my mind.
Thank you. I feel like, it took me a long time as a gay man. It took me a long time to feel like I could be all of who I was, and for me to embrace it and to feel, for many years, I wouldn't let myself feel things because I felt like I can't, it's precarious for me. But then after 8 years of glorious therapy, that man helped me understand. I said to him when I first went in, what do you do when the world that you're in is not big enough for who you are? And he said very adroitly, he said, you create a world that is big enough for who you are. Once I heard those words, I knew my whole life could change. I knew I could live as full a life as any person on the planet. I just had to feel that way about myself. And when you do that, it opens you up to all that's creative. All that's creative. The people that you want to be around somehow come into your world. Somehow you meet them, and then you start matriculating with them, and you start working with them, and then you're just, I don't know, I find it so stimulating. And even though I am older than I ever imagined I'd be, I feel like my spirit is very young. Very young.
Oh, number one, you're making me die to be in that room. I want to be in that room. I can come in the room now. You have a plan, and I can come and see you. And the other thing you're making me remember, and you've lived with me through this, but you're reminding me that I wasn't a therapist, but it was a yoga teacher. And as I saw, I was in a prenatal yoga, and I was about to have 3 children in 2 years. I had the twins coming, and I had Victoria. And she was talking about the uterus, and she was saying how small it is and how it grows 19 times its size in order to make room for a child, never mind twins, I'm sure. And she said, and so your life, you can't see your life as a certain size, and that the children are going to get into that space. And then you divide up your life as a pie, and then your singing is now a smaller piece because you have all these responsibilities and so on. Your life has to grow 19 times the size.
Wow. That is a beautiful metaphor.
Grow the life so there's room for all.
Grow the life you deserve. Imagine the life you deserve and grow it and then live it. And that is what I've tried to do. And I found it so gratifying. The arts has kept me young. And the people I meet in art, I'm watching right now the American Horror Story.
Yeah.
And Jessica Lange's acting on that is, I don't even know how to describe it. When you see her, it's like she would give her life. She will give her life's blood for whatever it is she feels inside that she is her passion. And to think about that in actors that I love so much, they show us the human condition. You get up there when you were doing Passion at Classic Company, and we see the human condition before our very eyes. We see your beauty, we see your foibles, we see where you're weak, where you're strong. Yeah. But in all cloaked in Stephen Sondheim's lyrics and music. But
every conflict of myself was in that show.
Right, but we're moved by that because we live vicariously by watching you on that stage and watching your relationship. That's why theater's so great. It's such a living thing, and I miss it so much.
So do I. I miss Theater, and I miss my teachers, and that's why I did this program, just to, you know, just to ask people how they're doing, because I'm missing it. I wanted to know how you were. I knew you were actually thriving because we spoke, and I knew you were writing a musical. I'm so glad it's done, and I'm so glad to know you opened your doors and you're finding creative ways to keep going. And I think you're the best. And now the phone is going to be ringing endlessly, and you're going to be so mad at me, but Melissa, I couldn't stop all the people wanting to come.
Thank you.
But everyone should call you. But I love you, Phil, and I'll just keep following your light, you know, so I learned to grow mine, you know.
Yes. Thank you for sharing, though. I appreciate the time.
Oh, me too. Thank you. Love you.
Bye. Bye now.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Phil Hall about the state of music, about his dreams, and about the things that that are ahead for him. He's continued to stay positive and to stay creative. I'm not surprised. And so many singers will be at his doorstep again, and I will be one of them.